All right, welcome back. Welcome. Um, Pardon yesterday. I was actually gonna hold the live yesterday, but my classes that I usually hold on Sunday at 1 p.m. I held them yesterday at 1 p.m. due to certain people's schedules. Kind of made myself fit into other people's schedules and so on and so forth. So most of my students had today more freer. I mean, yesterday more free than today. So I held class yesterday at 1 p.m., which means I wasn't able to create the live. But I am here now. I guess we'll let some people come in. This is also a platform as well that we can engage. Any questions, any feedback, if any clarity is needed, please feel free to ask for that clarity before we bounce to the next point. Now, these are kind of these are interesting times once again. It's not dreadful times. It's not horrific times. It's not worryful times. It's not stressing times. It's just a time. And this time happens at certain eras, certain time points, certain time periods. You begin to notice a collapsing of a present dimensional body. This present dimensional body is now collapsing. And what you have to begin to understand is, what is your position? What is your purpose? Where are you located at within the collapsing? Are you on the surface and the outer shell of the collapsing? Or are you on the inner core center of the collapsing? Because this dimension is collapsing. It's going through one of the yugas, or the Kali yugas. Kali being the mother destroyer of destruction and so on and so forth. And this is beginning to destroy itself. It's beginning to eat itself. This reality is beginning to eat itself. How you doing, Miss Perez? Mr. Perez, Miss Perez. Hey, Perez. Nice to have y'all here. Zach, nice to have y'all, as usual. Pardon yesterday's, I was saying before, pardon yesterday's live. My class is usually held on Sunday at 1 p.m., but I held it yesterday due to some of my students' schedules. It just fit in perfectly yesterday. So back to the point. This is a time and era where things are collapsing. This dimension is collapsing. This happened many times, many different periods, tens of thousands of years. This collapse occurs. And the whole point is, what is your position? Where are you located at within this collapse? Because this happened plenty of times. It's been prophesied. So this is not the end of the world or the end of something, because this is not a world. This is not a planet. This is not an earth. This is an experience. This is a plane of existence that we are on, that extends for eternity, both left and right, and as well as front and forward. Peace, peace, Izzy. How are you? All right? No doubt, Busy. I see you. Appreciate you attending the class today, attending the live session today. I want to begin to hold more live sessions with more people, because I have my consultations and my classes, and I'm writing books, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing that, making products for the website. I appreciate y'all supporting the website. I know a lot of y'all waiting for more and more crystal quartz packages. Just to let y'all know, it's already been made. It's been pre-made. It's done already. So in case, because these orders go by quick. And this is basically something called hexahydrate crystal, which is deep on the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. by the Atlanteans, which were known as the ancient scientists of our lineage, the spiritual ancient lineage ancestry. This is deep within the bedrock of the Atlantean Sea, which is hexahydrate crystal, along with two other crystals in there, for those that don't know, selenite crystal as well as crystal quartz. The selenite keeps the crystal quartz charged and also keeps the hexahydrate charged. Remember, it's not about the product, it's about the person creating the product. It's not about a painting, it's about Van Gogh, the one who painted the painting that you appreciate the painting for. So whenever you buy products, whether from me or anybody else, it's about the person. What's good, Kimba? It's about the person. And this is why you have 10 fingers. Out of these 10 fingers, you have at the very least, 6 to 7 of these fingerprints that have complete, perfect spirals. These spirals get imprinted and embedded within the product that is being made. So it's about, where's the person at? Where's the person at mentally? Where are they at energetically? Where are they at soulfully? Where are they at spiritually? Because his energy or her energy or their energy is being embedded and imprinted on the product that I am purchasing. If and when a person reaches a certain depth within their self and they create products, if you relate and find relative with that depth within them that you find within yourself, you and that product are one. When you purchase that product, you also access that same depth that he or she, the creator of that product, accesses within yourself. You access that same depth. So if you're not ready for that depth, do not purchase the product, because the product carries the imprint, the vibrational imprint, energetical imprint, and spiritual imprint of that depth within the product itself. As well as, I know some of y'all, a lot of y'all waiting, y'all got me selling this out like crazy, for the oils that's been made with my logo imprinted on it, Mayas Azim, the school of Hayaya, because my school is pronounced Hayaya, but I pronounce it Ayaya within the classes for those who are still practicing their ancestral tongue. It's very important, I always make this kind of very important, to begin to speak things in your ancestral tongue, because it brings a roll, and this roll is an invoke to wake up that energy which has been sleeping within you. The English language is cool, but it's kind of a dead language because it doesn't have the drum roll behind it. And some of our vocal cords, our muscle, our skeletal structures aren't the same bodies of our ancestors, which means we have to begin developing these kind of bone-like structures, these kind of vocal muscle cords within us to begin to invoke and introduce us back to that primal state of being that is hiding within us. Okay, so just to make that clear before I go into today's points, because there's going to be a few random points, but it's going to be powerful points that you may want to, I would suggest you consider, reconsider, take notes if you can. If not, you already know, after the live is up, it'll be posted again, so you can go back and check out what's been said, because we're going to go into some very deep topics for those who are reaching a more deeper core within self. This is for you. Let's go into the first topic. Now I'm gonna go by this live how I usually go by my channel, but I'm gonna open the channel or the points for discussion, feedback, questions, any clarity needed. I will give it, instead of me just talking to a camera on my usual videos, and I can't really engage with the community or engage with my subconscious scribers such as yourself. Before I go into today as well, understand you can go on the website asyouare.com, asyuar.com, asyouare.com, and I recommend you go through the Cash App payment method rather than the other payment methods on the website. You can also Cash App me directly. The email information will also be in the bottom, and email me which product that you are purchasing. If you decide to just send it to me straight to my Cash App, which is Amias as one. AMIASAS 1. I'll put it in the bottom of the video. Let's dive into today's live video and the points. Once you understand, you automatically begin to create. Consciously, intentionally create your reality. Like I have done and I keep doing. Understanding eliminates belief and hope. When you understand, believing and hoping and wishing automatically gets eliminated out the equation of what you are doing and what you're being. There's no need to believe, hope, or wish once you begin to understand divine order, understand cosmic order, understand universal law. When something is being shared and or explained from different vantage points of gnosis, which is knowledge of self, pay attention. Latent or dormant potential neurons, because we're pointing towards the brain now. Latent or dormant potential neurons become activated and active, while synapses or synaptical currents pass through them in your brain, the neurons. And as this happens, as the synapses are traveling from one neuron to the next, waking up, activating one neuron, becoming active within the present moment. As this happens and synaptical currents are passing through neuron to neuron to neuron, the universe and innerverse or your transverse begins to expand. Literally. What NASA sees as a universe expanding means that one is becoming enlightened and their transverse and innerverse is expanding, meaning that your neurons are beginning to wake up. They're beginning to spark. They're like spark plugs, looking for that spark, looking for that synaptical connection or that synaptic current to travel from one neighboring neuron or distant neuron to the next. There's a reason. And this happens in parallel with the expansion of the mind as well as the mind's potential. Keep this in mind. We are not in a universe. We're not in a universe. We are in a transverse, which means this transverse means a constant mode of transportation or to be transported. We're constantly being transported. We're constantly in a movement of transportation. We are not in a universe. We are in a transverse. Okay? In a transverse. From one reality to the next. This is not our home. This place, this space is not our home because we don't have a home. We literally exist everywhere and anywhere all at once. This is not our home. This universe is not your home. We are transversient beings. We're not universal beings. We're transversient. We travel from one universe to the next, from this universe to the next universe, from that universe to the next universe. A universe is a stable, founded reality of existence. We move from one reality to the next. We don't stay in one universe. We are transversal beings, transversient, transient and transversal beings. We're not universal. We're not in one place. We're not local. We're not localized. Keeping in mind the expansion of the mind. In fact, as we grow and expand in our consciousness and self-gnosis, and as the dormant neurons begin getting zapped by proximal neurons, by neighboring neurons in our brain, actual maps and or mappings of neural stargates begin to appear. Understand that as these synapses connect from one neuron to the next through synaptical currents traveling from one neuron to the next throughout your brain, throughout the neural geometry of your brain. It begins to create a neural stargate or neural stargates, which are actually brain star graphs. You actually create stargates and star graphs within your brain. As you see them stars that connect out there in what you call the universe, that is the brain of something, the mind of something which this brain cannot fully fathom. This is why in this reality, in this current and present experience, all is mind, universe is mental. We are in the mind and mentality and brain or brain-like intelligence of something that we are too minute in size and intellect to begin to fathom and grasp. But we can still have a certain kind of understanding of our place and position, purpose and mission in this present life as the one that connects the all, from the all being the one intelligence. So as these neurons connect to each other through synaptical currents passing through them, they begin to light up these neurons that are like stars within the brain that create a star graph or a brain star graph or a brain constellational system. So when you look up, you are literally looking in. This is why in metaphysics, from one of my teachers, one of my reminders named Mr. Valley, he said, there is nothing higher than the human head. There is nothing higher than the human head. But he wasn't talking about the physical head, even though in a way it does mean the physical head. He's saying even if you look up in the universe, you're looking up with your head. So it is the head which is the highest, looking up into the head of something which we cannot begin to fathom, to understand and grasp. The head and the head, the double-headed one, the double-headed dragon. It didn't mean an actual dragon. You are the double-headed dragon. This head looks up into the bigger head. When this head sees and witnesses that head, you become the double-headed dragon. You, actually, literally. If anybody is confused or needs clarity on this, please feel free to type it in. Let me know as I go from point to point. So, when this happens, neural stargates begin to appear. Brain star graphs of constellations or interconstellational light sketches begin being written within the brain, within the very design of the brain itself. And as this phenomenon happens, your being and your soul begins to access these inner constellational bodies within your brain, simultaneously creating its own solar system, its own galaxy, its own cosmos, its own universe, as its own transverse that it is. And this, at this point, is when you actually start becoming God. Because you are now being the mind of God. So you're not accessing planets and abodes and planetary bodies out there. Your brain is literally creating your inner brain solar system, your brain constellational zodiac system, your brain cosmos, your brain galaxy, and your brain universe. This is where the universe is. This is where the cosmos is. This is where the galaxies are. This is where the solar system body is at. This is where your zodiac system is. Inside. Not outside. So, as you begin creating your solar system, your inner system, you begin creating your own zodiac system. Literally. Within. Therefore, you begin ruling your own reality. You literally begin ruling your own reality. Because you created your own solar system, your own zodiac system within your brain, within your mind, within your head. And you no longer look for out there. You don't wait for things to occur anymore. You make things occur. You don't wait for things no more because you have become God. God doesn't wait for its creation to tell it what to do. It knows it's the creator of its own creation and makes its own zodiac positions according to how it wants to be, whenever it wants to be, as it wants to be, in that moment that it is creating its own reality. So, in this moment, you no longer go by or wait for outer constellational events or outer constellational lineups. You don't wait for outer weather patterns or outer seasons to begin to determine and dictate how you live and move about your experience and your reality. You create weather. This is why the ancient Aniyuwayi or Aniyunwaya, pardon me, following the Unihaneha or Unihanehi on this landmass that we call America, that you call your Cherokee or your Washita or your Seminole, or any of the 5 civilized tribes or more, they were called the people of the Unihanehi. And these were your ancient Aniyunwaya that were here on this soil. This soil was also known as many different names, many different people, many different tribes, many different civilizations, many different nations, many different regions that we traveled across when this was one landmass known as Pangea, when we were known as Pangeans, Gondwanians, Lemurians, Atlanteans. We were a whole people because we operated from the whole mind itself. We didn't fraction out our mind. When we began to fraction our mind, landmass began to fraction itself. Because once you understand what mind is the bodies of water. This is why bodies of water began to appear. Because our mind understanding fell to the physical laws. Therefore, the physical laws began as an appearance or reflection of our mind falling. But that was bound to happen. Regardless, it was prophesied even before the first prophecy was even written. It was prophesied in the stars. It was prophesied in constellation that this was going to happen anyway, regardless. What's good, Otter? Nice to see you present, brother. Brother got a good channel too. Talks about let's raise consciousness, which is a very positive thing to say and understand and to incorporate in everyone else's understanding as well. This is about raising the vibration as well as raising the vibration, expanding the vibration as well. Nice to see you here, brother. Appreciate that. So, as you begin creating these galaxies and solar systems within your mind, these constellational bodies, you begin creating your own zodiac system, your own zodiac understanding. And you don't wait for outer constellational lineups to begin to do things. You don't wait for weather patterns to come. You don't wait for seasons to arrive. You begin creating the seasons and weather patterns, which is what the ancient Aniyunwaya did on this ground, what you call Native Americans, what you call Cherokee, what you call the Seminole, what you call Washita, what you call the Shinnecock Nation, what you call any kind of nation on this landmass. You hear a lot of stories of them creating weather patterns and manipulating seasons to arrive and follow, because they access their inner cosmos, their inner universe, their inner galactical bodies. The connecting of one neuron to the next, that synaptical zap across from one neuron to the neighboring neuron or a distant neuron, created the star graph, the brain star graph, the brain constellational system. When this happens, you are your own universe. But we are transversal beings. We create this universe within our mind, and then we are transient to move on to another universe to create, to govern another planetary body, galaxy, cosmos, and people to exist within. When we look up, we are looking inside of the mind of something so divine that this little brain inside this skull cannot fathom. And it's not supposed to fathom or grasp it. It is the unfathomable. It is the ingraspable, or ungraspable, if that's even a word. Fuck it, I just made it up. But you understand the point. If anything needs any clarity on what I'm saying, please feel free to reach out, type it in, and I will answer back and respond immediately or as soon as possible. This is when you actually become God and become the mind of God. Because if you know the word God, God is synonymous with the word guide. You begin guiding yourself. You become a self-guiding system. You become your own GPS. You determine what happens within your universe. As a matter of fact, the zodiac system, as well as the Kundalini system or the chakra system, is a foundational understanding to begin to understand that certain points and centers within the body exist. Like me, I have 5 chakras, which I can definitely say is within me. I don't have 7 chakras. I have 5 chakras. It doesn't make me superior. It doesn't make me inferior. It just helped me to identify what centers within my body are governed within this system and this present experience within myself. Everybody doesn't have 7 chakras. Everybody doesn't have 9 chakras. Everybody doesn't have 10 chakras. Some may have 3. Some may have 4. Some may have 5. Even the zodiac system. The 12 zodiacs were there as a template and a foundation for you to begin to find out your inner zodiac system. When you become the mind of God. When you become the mind of God, you become the body of God. This is once again the whole understanding why I said on my channel, on my regular videos, why I said when we had the Sphinx, the head, the human head, and the animal body of a lynx, which is why it's called the Sphinx. The Sphinx is the sphincter. The sphincter is in the bottom of the rectum or the anal canal. When the sphincter is open, you have free oscillating energy through your alimentary canal or your alimentary system, which is your mouth, your spoken word, and your sphincter. Your sphincter, the anal canal, and your mouth are directly connected. Did you know that? It's known as the alimentary system or the alimentary canal. So the Sphinx, the lynx was the body, which was the cat or the lion or the lioness, and the head was human because they were saying at that time, and it's over 40,000 years old, that Sphinx, over that. They were saying that we became the mind of God. And when you go to ancient Egypt and the dynastic period and the golden eras within it, you see the human body and the animal head, which means that we became the body of God. So before you become the whole God, you have to become the mind of God, and this trickles down into the bloodstream and becomes the body of God. Now you become the whole divine one, or the divine one, half man, half divine, or half human, half divine, which is where you get your whole pharaonic understanding or pharaonic thought or pharaonic thinking. This is why the pharaohs were like the presidents. They were known as the presidents. The presidents wasn't based upon how much campaigning you're doing. It was based upon the lector, which was the priest back then in our ancestral pronunciation or our ancestral tongue. They were called the Hum Necheretapi. This is where you get the Hermes or the Hermes Trismegistus. Hermes is Hum. The Hum Necheretapi, which were known as the lector, which is where you get the word lecture, which is why you have lecturers that lecture from a lector that was whispering inside the pharaoh's ear, telling him or her what to do, how to move about the people, how to govern their upper kingdom and their lower kingdom. They were known as the great white ones, because they wore the white robe or the white robed ones. So, and the Pharaoh had his council was known as the blue, and other side of the council that upheld the council were known with the red uniform. This is where you get the red, white, and blue in the American flag. This is based upon Pharaonic empire, Pharaonic thought, Pharaonic law. And the pharaohs were called Nesut, or Nesut Biti, that were governed by the Humnecheret, the priest that was whispering in their ear. This is where you get the whole mythology of Tahuti whispering in the ear of Osiris. Okay? And I'm going to get too far off the topic at the moment. But when you begin creating your own universe within your brain, when you begin to connect these star graphs and the star grid within your brain, you begin creating your own universe, your own cosmos, your own galaxy, your own solar system, and your own planetary bodies that are governed within your own zodiacal understanding of your system. The solar system that you have now created. So, and bringing that to the topic of people talking about aliens, all this alien talk. If I say that you already created your own universe, then you become your own alien. You become your own alien invasion, your internal and inner alien invasion. And remember, it's not about the word alien. When you see a word, you have to begin to break it down because it's known as acronyms and initials. Initials, because you are the initiate initiating yourself. In order to be the initiate, to begin initiating your higher self, you have to begin to look at words and break it down as initials, which is my students known as 15 Kima. My students know what I'm talking about. 15 Kima. You have to begin to break words down. Alien, anytime you see A-L, replace the A with E and it means L. Ian is ion. So the word alien is actually the word L-ion or L-eon. And eon is a long undetermined period or era of a people, civilization, a spiritual mindset, something called a zeitgeist, a spiritual movement, a divine movement. That's what an eon means. So L-eon is L-ion. L also means God. L also means star. Star is a solar system. A star is a sun. Around the sun or amongst a sun is a solar system. So once again, even the word L means solar system. It means a sun. It means a star. Alien is L-ion. And ion is also something which an atom is. An atom is a ionic activity or an ionic intelligence, something which holds a positive terminal and a negative terminal, a positive spin orientation and a negative spin orientation. So alien or L-ion is a God which determines its negative component and its positive component. And it utilizes both positive and negative to create and manipulate and orchestrate its own reality, which it chooses to experience. This is what the word alien means. So you become your own alien invasion inside of your mind, not outside here in the home, not in a spaceship, not something flying in. Doesn't mean anything. Earth is a cell, which is a cell body. It's you invading other cells within your neurons, called the soma body or the cell body, which are actual neurons in your brain. It's called a cell body. Look it up. It's also called a soma body. Earth is also known or synonymous to the word cell. This is not earth. This is oath. You took an oath. You don't live on earth. You live on oath. You don't live on a planet. You live on a plane. Okay? You got to understand this. So L-ion or L-eon also means supreme infinite or totality continuum. the all and every, meaning God's potential. This is what the word alien means. It means God's potential, the positive, the negative, the supreme, the infinite, the total continuum, the all and every, El Ion, El Eon. You understanding? So, this means God's potential. You are God. You are the potential within your godhood, within your godliness, within your God-esque, within your own guiding system. You guide yourself. This is why they say there's no God coming to save you. There's nothing coming here to save you. You are the only one that can save yourself. You can either save yourself or slave yourself. So slave yourself or save yourself. The choice is yours. Like I said, this ain't life. This is choice. You're not living life, you're living choice. And within this choice, you have a chance to choose wisely. So this means God's potential. Alien means God's potential. El Ion means God's potential. Therefore, if you do not become God, a God will be provided for you. If you do not become God, a God will be provided for you, which is who you know as Allah, Jesus, Jehovah, Yahweh, Yahivahi. But these are not just gods of worship. These are inner guiding systems of devotion. And I told you worship and devotion are two different things. Two totally different things. Devotion is inward, worship is outward. Devotion is internal, worship is external. If you understand what Allah means, if you understand what God means as initials, ALLAH, arm, leg, arm, head, which is the human body, God, generator, operator, and destroyer. You generate, you operate, and you destroy realities to begin giving birth to a new reality. You are who you've been looking for this whole time. And I do not exist on the other side of this life. I exist within you, and you exist within me. This is how this goes. And understand this too as well before we move on. What I told you about before, when you start to become the mind of God, your brain hemispheres, the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. Inside of this hemisphere, there is a gap in the middle of the hemispheres of the brain. When you start to become the mind of God, this gap begins to close and kind of sew itself and knit itself together, becoming the smooth ashlar in mythology over the philosopher's stone. The smooth ashlar over the philosopher's stone. This is when you become the mind of God. This is when the positive and the negative terminal become one. There is no good, there is no bad. It's just interpretations and perceptions based upon what works for you and what you think actually works against you, or what is not beneficial and what is beneficial to who and what you are in this moment. What's good for you is bad to somebody else. One man's God is another man's devil. It doesn't matter. This is how you find out what you're doing, what kind of inner progress you're making, and what kind of things you need more work on or to kind of tweak a little bit. What nuts and bolts you may need to screw a little more tighter in the understanding of your mind and the depth of your gnosis. So the closing of the longitudinal fissure, because that gap in between the brain is called a longitudinal fissure. The closing of the longitudinal fissure over the pineal gland or the pineal light, what is known as the light tower, creates the darkness for the brain's universe to appear within and begin creating itself within. You understand? This is why the synapses that spark from one neuron to the next within your brain, as they spark, a darkness needs to be around this universe. Like when we look up and we see that the universe is dark or it's pitch black or it's jet black, there is a darkness that has to be present in order for these light sparks or these stars to begin appearing. The only reason why you see stars in that universe out there is because there's darkness that overshadows it. This is why that longitudinal fissure begins to close its gap, because it's closing any light trying to get in through what is known as the cribriform or the crib hole or the skull hole that you had when you were born. Any light trying to pierce through the bone or the skull, that longitudinal fissure, that gap closes to close any outside light off so that more darkness can begin appearing and creating within the brain. So that it begins to create the darkness or the dark matter or the dark energy for the universe to begin housing itself within and creating itself within. This is how you begin creating your universe. This is also why we meditate. And Ada talks about a lot of meditation. Brother, this is why you meditate, why we all meditate. We go into darkness to begin to feed that darkness and begin to expand that darkness, that dark matter, that dark energy for the brain's purpose, to begin creating and smothering our inner universe that we are creating with darkness. Because darkness, within darkness, energy conversion and energy transformation begin to happen a lot more frequently, and it enhances your understanding and creates more of a depth for you to drop it within self. That's what darkness does, right? When somebody drops in a hole, the hole gets darker and darker. It seems like they're dropping deeper and deeper into a darkness. So the more darkness you create within yourself, the more deeper or the more potential you have to go within a deep depth or abyss within yourself. This is why we meditate. This is why we close our eyes when we meditate. To give our inner constellations, our inner stargates, our inner solar system, our inner galaxy, our inner cosmos, our inner universe, a dark setting of dark energy, dark matter for it to exist amongst and exist within. Become the mind of God. Some people pray to God, others become God, or become that which it protruded from. Become that which you derive from, because you are of the same makeup, the same ingredients, the same embodiments, the same elements, the same soup. You become the same product that was produced from the source. Don't we call God source? So from something which is source, a product has to be created. But in order for that product to create, you have to begin to produce. How do you produce? You begin to induce and invoke, to wake up that which is sleeping in darkness within you. Your physical body, my physical body, our physical bodies are literally solar dust or solar debris, creating its own solar system within as the primal systematic solitarian that it is. So your physical body is solar dust or solar debris. Literally, not figuratively, not metaphorically, not probably, but literally. And it's solar dust or solar debris because it's made out of the same material that is trying to create and produce within, which is a solar system, because it itself is a systematic solaritarian. You are a solaritarian, a systematic solaritarian, creating your own solar system within as the makeup of the solar system without. This body, literally. This is why ashes to ashes, dust to dust. The ashes are the smooth ashalar. The ashes are the ashalar, or the ashalar. When you become the smooth ashalar, this physical body begins to deteriorate more and more because you have become awoke. You are enlightened, which means that this life, this physical life, game is over. The jig is up. You now know. So this smooth ashalar, the ashes, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, the ashalar forms, the body goes to ashes, stardust, star debris, dust to dust, ashes to ashalar, stardust to dust, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. When you become the smooth ashalar, this body, the stardust, the star ash, the star debris begins to fall even more. This is why a week to somebody can seem like a day. That's how it seems like to me sometimes. I'm like, damn, it's Friday already? It was just Tuesday morning. A day can seem like 15 minutes, which it does like that to me. A day feels like 15 minutes to me, literally. Literally. And this is how you begin to see where your speed of manifestation is at, where your spiritual development is at. Because there's times throughout your day, just like there's times throughout my day. I know for a fact there's times throughout your day you can be with somebody right next to you. And 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. to that person can seem like an hour just passed. But 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. to you is like 10 minutes. You're like, damn, it's already 12 p.m.? And somebody next to you is like, yeah, an hour passed. You ain't feel that? You're like, nah, I ain't feel that. And there's times throughout the day where 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. to somebody may feel like 5 hours. It may take forever to reach that 5 p.m. mark so they can clock out of work, or 5:30. But that 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. or 5:30 to somebody else can seem like half an hour, 20 minutes. So there's time brackets throughout our day where time speeds up even quicker. Begin to know these time brackets within your day, within your 24-hour cycle, between your sun and moon cycle, your solar and lunar cycle, that are actual doorways, which are in your ancestral tongue or ancestral pronunciation was known as Kajrij Ah. There's many Kajrij Ahs in your day period that go by like 5 minutes, that go by like 10 minutes. 24 hours seems like 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And know these time gaps or these doorways or these Kajrij Ahs that appear within your day, because you can put yourself in the moment of those time gaps that aren't there to begin to make time go by quicker. So at certain times during your day where 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. feels like an hour to you more, put yourself in that Kajrij Ah moment of 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. to make that hour seem like 10 minutes. This is why you have to begin to embrace your Kajrij Ahs within your solar and lunar cycles. To put yourself in that moment to make that time go by just that quicker. If you want to get the hell out of your 9 to 5 in that moment. Know how to access these inner doorways, these inner Kajrij Ahs, and bring it to the present moment. Begin to start to embrace and hug moments if you can. Just be present with the moment. Feel the moment. Make that moment a feeling and vibrational template within yourself to begin to inject that vibrational template into moments throughout the day when these times feel like an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours. Make it feel like a half an hour, 15 minutes, 10 minutes. Okay, begin practicing these principles and these moments. And actually, the sun and moon, which is why you see 2 circles in that sky, 2 circles in our sky during a solar lunar cycle. Those two circles are actually the two eyes that you close. Literally. That's why those are two eyes. This is why this is known as the demiurge, where it says something is watching you. Something is looking at you. It's watching you. And it's following your day-to-day, second-to-second, minute-to-minute, hour-to-hour period. Week-to-week, month-to-month, year-to-year period. It's watching you. This is where you get the eye of Horus and the eye of Ra. This was symbolic of the sun and the moon. Two eyes are watching you. And those two eyes that are watching you are your eyes. This is why, if you look at it, the sun is literally in between us and what we call the universe. The moon, when it appears, is literally between us and what we call the universe. So closing these two circles, closing these two eyes, you enter into your own universe. This is why we're seeing the sun and the moon as two quadrant eyes or two doorways to enter into, to access that not outer universe, but the innerverse within. We've seen those as two doors, like two doors on your car, two doors in your home, or the door to your home, or the door to your backyard, and the door to your front yard, the two doors on the side of your car, just like any door, garage door. We've seen the sun and the moon as two doors to open and access into in order to access our inner self. It wasn't called the sun. It wasn't called the moon. We feel comfortable when we give something a title or a name. That's the only reason why you feel comfortable around something like that, because you're giving it a name and you heard this name and you grew up with this name and you're giving it a name. But what about if that didn't have a name? What would you call these two circles floating around us? How would you perceive them? How would you see them then? What would they mean to you in your experience, in your reality? Why do these two circles keep appearing? This is how you begin to put yourself back into your ancestral mind, how they perceived, how we perceived, how our ancient genetic lineage and our ancient spiritual lineage began to perceive the reality before them. By taking away the names, the titles, and the labels, which is the same thing with working on your ego. Take away your name, title, label, and identity and image to begin to access that spiritual core within self. The access, the point that has no name, has no label, has no title. Because when you give something a name, label, title, identity, and image, you begin to feel comfortable around it. But the whole point of spiritual enlightenment is realizing the unreality of existence. This is what enlightenment is. And when you begin to realize the unreality of existence, you will begin to feel uncomfortable. This is why you come out of the comfort zone of name, label, title, identity, and image, to begin to feel comfortable within your own uncomfortableness, to shake up that ground, to fall on another foundation, not being afraid to break your foundation and to see if there's a foundation underneath that. This is what this channel is for. This is what my subconscious scribers are about. This is what you all are about. This is what you all are here for. Start the flame, the moths shall come. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. When the teacher is ready, the student shall appear. I am your teacher as much as I am your student, and vice versa. We're all teachers and students to each other. This is how this goes. Understand this too as well. Your brain, so far they said they estimated at least 100 billion neurons in your brain. 100 billion neurons in your brain. And within this 100 billion neurons in your brain, they say there's somewhere around 100 trillion synaptic connections. So there's more synaptic activity or star graph activity or star activity or sun activity or solar activity than there is with the neurons in your brain. 100 billion neurons in your brain and 100 trillion synaptic connections amongst these 100 billion neurons in your brain. You can even fathom that. And understand this as well. Your brain is just about 70 to 75% fat. The fattest organ in your body is your brain. Or the organ that holds the most fat in your body is your brain, which is 70 to 75% fat. What is fat? Fat is unconverted, untransformed energy. And these energies that are unconverted and untransformed within the fatty tissue of the brain are called globules, as in globes. You see where I'm going with this? So it means these globes or globules in your brain that make up the fatty tissue, the 70 to 75% of the fatty tissue in your brain, are the globes or the Earths or the planetary bodies that you begin to wake up and begin creating your solar system. Get it? It begins to activate your zodiac system that you begin to create inwardly. That's the globe. To give an understanding of astrology and cosmology real quick, in case some of y'all aren't too familiar with what goes into what and what's before what, the divine order and universal law of astronomy and cosmology, planets are a zodiac sign. Planets govern a sun. The sun amongst the planets creates a solar system. A solar system are amongst other solar systems. So there's many suns that govern planetary bodies amongst it or around it. This is what is known as a solar system. And there's plenty of suns, which means there's plenty of solar systems. These plenty of solar systems create a galaxy. A galaxy is something which houses many solar systems, many zodiacal intelligences within this one galaxy. This one galaxy, which houses and homes plenty of solar systems, are within a atmosphere of many other galaxies. Follow me. Many other galaxies that hold solar systems within them. And these other galaxies are surrounded by something called a cosmos. These cosmos are within something called, there's many replicas of these cosmos. Just like there's replicas of solar systems, just like there's replicas of galaxies, there's replicas of cosmos. And these replicas of cosmos are in something called a universe, to give you the divine order of things. But that's not the end. There's also plenty amongst plenty of unlimited universes. Fathom that for a minute. To give you an analogy or example, there's as many universes as there's grains in the sand on one beach. To what end? This is why we are not universal beings. We are transversal beings. We transfer and transport from one universal experience to the next universal experience, from that universal experience to the next universal experience. Because the zodiac system is a foundational system to understand that there are planetary lineups, a planetary star graph. And that's just here in this experience, which we call all is mind. Universe is mental. How do you know in the next prior life or the next passing life or the prior life that all was an ear or all is eye or all is nose or all is mouth? How do you know that wasn't your prior life? Or all is skull or all is heart? In this reality, this prior experience, this present experience, all is mind. Universe is mental. If all is mind and mind is all and all is God, then what is God? God is mind. The mind is God. So begin accessing your God that is waiting for you to wake it up. This is what is known in mythology as the sleeping giant. So these fatty globules that are inside 70 to 75% of our brain, these globules, these globes of like bubbles or orbits of potential energy that has not yet been converted or transformed, these are the globes that we have to begin accessing and waking up to begin to create our own zodiacal system within our own solar system, to begin to project galaxies and cosmos, to create our universe, to access other universes within self, not out there, within self. The more deeper we go in here, the more we begin to transport, and you actually claim your godhood of being a transversal entity, literally becoming God, becoming the guide, your own guiding system, guiding yourself inward. Okay? Let's go to the next point. This is also relates to what I'm talking about. For those and all of you who think or second guess, if you second guessing right now, or think that all ain't mind and that all ain't internal, keep this in mind. If you think for 1 second or you second guess that all is not mind and all is not internal, Amias, you may be wrong on that. Amias, I don't know if all is internal or all is mind. If you think for 1 second that it isn't, keep this in mind. Then explain to me why the outer shell of your body, the outer shell of your body, your whole body, including your hands, is the exact shape of something in your brain called dendrites and axons. Dendrites and axons. Yes, the very shape of your body, the shape of your hand, is the shape of something called dendrites and axons, which are neurons in your brain. The body's design is designed as a neuron. Your hands are designed as neurons. You're a walking damn neuron. If you think that everything ain't internal in this reality, if you think for a minute that all is not mind, explain to me why your whole body, including your hands, are the very exact shape of dendrites and axons. Look it up. Google dendrite, D-E-N-D-R-I-T-E, and axons, A-X-O-N. Axon is why you take action in your life. This is why if somebody comes to me and says, well, I want to worship something. I want to worship a God. What God shall I worship, Amias? Worship the God of action. Take action. Because once you take action, you begin activating your axon connected to your dendrite, which is your nerve cell, which is the exact shape of your body as well as your damn hands. And your hands, if you turn it upside down, it is your body. This can be the head, This can be the arms of your head, and this can be the legs of your body. Your hand is actually the shape of a damn human body. If you turn your body upside down, you are the shape of a dendrite and axon, which is the shape of a neuron in your brain. The dendrite is something which can be known as feminine. The axon can be known as something which is masculine. The dendrite takes in the information from one neuron, one synapse to a next, and it shoots out the axon to the next neuron. So the shooting out or the dispelling can be known as the phallus, which is the masculine. The taking in, which is known as the center of the neuron, which is a soma body or cell body, can be known as the feminine aspect, or the womb or the yoni that takes it in, and it transfers it through the axon into the next neuron. The physical design of our bodies are literally walking neurons. Your head can be known as a soma body or cell body of the neuron. Your arms and legs can be known as the axonic or the axons of the neurons, and the dendrites can be known as the fingers, toes, and hair or nails. So the head or the center of a neuron is called the soma body or the cell body, the centered intelligence. Like you have a head, which is in the center of your body. It is the centered intelligence. Okay? There is an extension or an octopus-like or a tentacle thing that derives from the cell body or soma body or centered nucleus of a neuron that sends out information, and this is known as the axons, which are your arms and your legs. And the tentacles that reach out from this axonic extension that's coming from the cell body, this can be known as the axon, pardon me, and the extensions extending from it, your fingers and your toes, can be known as the dendrites. Soma body, cell body, nucleus of the neuron, which is the head. This is known as the dendrites that extend from the head of the neuron, and the fingers are known as the axons because it is the fingers and the hands that take action in what you are doing. Just in case you think everything ain't internal and all is not mine, take this into consideration, into deep consideration, and think again. If you think what I'm saying is wrong, prove me wrong. I am a certified science biologist as well as a certified metaphysical psychologist that dealt in hygienic science and classical naturopathy. I know what I'm talking about. The point is, do you relate with what I'm saying? Do you find this gnosis relative to you and yours? This is deep shit. This is not for the surface thinker. This is for the adept, the Gnostic, which was known over there in Al-Kebalon, or what you know as Kemet. Over here, we were called the Akin Me. On this soil, as the Aniyumaya, who were the governing Onihanehi, we were known as Akin Me, the ancient priesthood that knew the science by heart, which are also known as the Nunehi, for those who want tribal understanding, or the 5 nations or 5 civilized tribes and Native Americans, which there's no such thing, but know how to pronounce your people in your ancestral pronunciation, your ancestral tongue. Vibrate, roll your tongue, vibrate your esophagus, invoke that spirit out, which is known as idukare. Pull the spirit out by speaking it into existence through your vocal cords. So your head is the soma body or the neuron. Your head, this is why the upper body and the lower body, the upper body wasn't the lower torso to the top of the skull. The upper body was known just as the head itself. This was the upper body. The lower body was known as the top of the neck to the bottom of the toes. That was the lower body. The head itself was the upper body. This is a body, just like this is the body of a neuron in your brain. The cell of the neuron, the center of the neuron, was the whole body. The things that extended from it were known as the dendrites. And the things that began to manipulate its environment and send synapses from one neuron to the next were known as the axons. The hands and the fingers are the ones that take action. The fingers, the toes, as well as your hair or lock, these were known as extensions that extended from the neural body, the cell body, the centered body, which is why a lock is twist. It's twist. It's the antenna. It's also the tentacle that reaches outward. This is what these things stand for. This wasn't a divine to be a design. It wasn't to look cute. It was a divine aspect. Also, as well, what you call your brain, your spinal cord, and something called your peripheral nervous system and your central nervous system, they begin to extend outward as your spine and your spinal cord goes down your back. Those veins that extend around your ribs and your organs from throughout the caverns of the lower body, the veins that extend from the spinal cord around your ribs, around your body, around your organs, can be known as the dendrites and axons. It's all connected, which are known as the peripheral nervous system and the central nervous system. Now, in the Biblios, they say what? We were born in sin, right? You were born in sin. I was born in sin. We were born in sin. What does this mean according to what I'm talking about now? How can we relate that and tie that into the gnosis I'm sharing with you now? Yeah, you were born in sin. But you were born in synapse. You were born in synapse. You were born in sin means you were born in synapse. Meaning, when you begin to wake up one neuron, one neighboring neuron to the next neuron, and you begin zapping it with synapses, you become born again. So you were born in synapse. This is when you're truly born. Coming out of a womb is when you begin to die. Which is why some pregnant women can give birth to a dead body. It's a baby, but it's a dead baby body. And for those who have done that, much condolences. Love and light and sensitivity and strength to you and yours. But we're talking about an understanding. All you mothers out there, you gave birth to bodies that encompassed a spiritual presence. But nevertheless, it is a dying body. We begin to die when we come out of the womb. That's why the womb was also known as the tomb. Because when we come out of the womb, simultaneously coming out of the womb, we enter into the tomb, which is the body, or atom, which is the atom. So we go from a womb to a tomb, T-O-M-B, as well as A-T-O-M, the atomic tomb dying experience. So Amias, if we begin to die, when are we truly born? You're truly born when you were born in synapse. Born in synapse. Born in sin. That's when you are truly born. When you begin creating the neurons and the synapses from one neural body to the next, from one soma body to the next, from one cell body to the next, you begin creating this brain star graph. You begin connecting these dots. As you connect these dots, these stars and suns and solar systems in your brain, you begin creating a star map. The star map is the actual zodiacal constellational body that you begin creating as the mind of God. Please understand what I'm saying. So yes, you were born in sin, which means also that you will burn in sin, because synapse is a burning or a zapping. It's not really a burning. So born in sin means you burn in synapse. Born in sin means burn in synapse. The burning is the fire or the kundalini fire that rises from the kujaraho, which is the Shakti energy, the sexual energy, the primal sexual energy. Not sexual organs, but the estrogen and testosterone sexing each other to bring about the Ganesha or the Nesha or the Gnostic, the one who was of his or her gnosis. Because Ganesha was the child of Shakti and Shiva. So you raise your Shakti to meet Shiva to give birth to the Nesha. This is mythology. This is the Heru. So you become your own Isis and Osiris. You are Isis and Osiris. And I told you Isis just means osseous, which is osseous tissue, which is bone marrow, which is where you truly reside. That's why Osiris was Lord of the underworld. The underworld was under your skin, under earth. Rearrange the word heart, you get the word earth. Take the H at the end of the word earth, put it at the beginning, you get the word heart. So Osiris was Lord of the underworld, under earth, behind the heart, inside the organs, inside the bone, inside of the bone. Osiris, Osseous. Osseous, Osiris. Isis is the iris, the all-seeing one. All this ties into each other perfectly. It textiles into each other perfectly. A few more points. If anybody has any questions at this moment or any feedback, speak now or hold your peace until the next live. Let me touch upon this right here. This last point right here. You may be asking, Abias, what is all this inner work for? Why are we doing all this inner work? What does inner work even mean? Why am I supposed to be doing inner work? What's the importance, the value, the quality of one doing their own inner work? What's the purpose? For what? Do I win a prize? Do I get a trophy? Am I supposed to be making something happen? Am I a part of something grand which I can't explain? Why am I doing this inner work? What is all this for? What's the overall outcome and result to be achieved by all this damn inner work? For the purpose of finding out your eternal address, your infinite address, your own address to your infinite being, your inner core, to see what layer you're at, whether you're at the layer or surface of understanding, or whether you're at the core center of this experience. So you're here to find your address, where you belong. Exactly, phone home. You're here to find out your phone number, your address, your zip code, your area code of your experience. To phone home. Exact, Kimba. Exact. microphone home. And also E.T. he also is the shape of a neuron. Figure that out. You see his head was up in his body. It was very heightened, suspended from his body, which showed you that his head was the actual body. And his fingers were the actual dendrites and axons that reached out, which is why he lit his finger, and his finger lit up as the lighting axon. As the lighting axon within the darkness. In the movie E.T., the very cover, all you see is his finger and it's lit up in darkness. That is the axon or the dendrite connecting to the next soma body or cell body. His whole head was the whole body. This is the whole point. And ET is electronic transferring or electronic transmitting. That's what it stands for. That's what it represented. And there can be other ways that can be broken down, but right and exact. Right and exact. So, the purpose, this is the whole purpose of doing this inner work, is finding out where you belong. Do you belong? Where within the eternal do you belong? Where within the infinite do you belong? And we're all trying to find where we belong, right? That's why we look at history, we look at ancestry, we look at all these ancient timelines, these ancient eras, these zeitgeistal spiritual periods and times. We study the beginnings, we study eschatology, the endings, the beginning times, the ending times. We're trying to find where we belong. Where do we belong? Where do I belong? Where do you belong? You can slightly find a beginning as far as genetically, when you find your genetic lineage. But like I tell people, if you really want to find your true eternal address, your true spiritual address, your soul address, you begin to connect and find your spiritual lineage. The spiritual lineage supersedes your genetic lineage. It supersedes it. This is when you begin to find sacred geometry. You find symbols. Look for symbols. Symbols and geometries you have an affinity to for some reason unbeknownst to you. That is your spiritual lineage. And begin to let these geometries open and unlock seals within self to begin to access these seals of darkness within you. Darkness is not evil. Darkness is actually purity. Darkness is innocence. That's why you meditate. That's why you sleep. People say darkness is evil and this and that. Well, don't you sleep? Don't you close your eyes? Aren't you in darkness? Don't you meditate? So are you evil because you go in darkness? Your whole body is encased within darkness, dark matter, and dark energy. Your organs, your lungs, your veins, your arteries, your arterioles, your skeletal system. Your brain, your heart is in darkness. There's no light bulb or flashlight on the inside. So are you evil? No, you're not. It doesn't make any sense. That's just another way, another psychological way to keep you away from you, to run you away from you. It's ridiculous. So this is to divine, or to find, you're doing the inner work to divine, to see your divine mission, your divine purpose, and your divine position. What is your divine position in this experience? Because this determines your possible incarnations or possible returns. This is why you're doing inner work. To find out if you're going to have to possibly incarnate again or return again, or if you're not. And you're moving on as a transversal being to your next universal mission, to another universe. We are transversal, we are not universal. We do universal trips. This universe is not the only universe in existence. This is just a universe created for us to create our reality within and get the damn point to move on to the next universal experience. It is the inner depth of self that you discover yourself to be, to determine the many layers you have to be aware of and the layers that you have to begin to let go of, to see how much work you have to do. This is the inner work. This is the whole purpose of inner work. How much work do I have to do? How many layers do I have to let go of? How deep am I? How dark am I? How dark can I get? Because the darker I get, the more defined my universal blueprint becomes. The more I get to architect my reality within as the God mind of self. In other words, you're trying to discover the least common denomination of yourself, the 0-point reference of self, the bottom foundation of your structure. For what reason? To begin rebuilding your way up and out from that center core of existence, outward and upward. This is the whole purpose of inner work. Where are you at? And this was also known as what is known as the priest work, the ancient priest work, the underground priesthood. This is what is known as priest work. Inner work is priest work, the work of the priest. Are you a priest or are you not? The ancient priests were the pristine ones. Priest and pristine. Pristine, priest. It's the same damn word. It's synonymous to each other. They were called a priest because they were the most pristine, meaning the most fine, the most sharpest ones, the most in tune ones, the most in sync ones, the most interconnected ones, the most spiritual ones, the ones who are of the most highest and most inner depth of their soul. Priest is pristine. Priest is just a short word for the pristine. So the priestly ones were the most pristine ones. Inner work is priest work. So you're trying to find out, am I a priest? Was I a part of an ancient priesthood? This is a way to determine or to see what inner work is. Why are you doing inner work? For what? You're trying to find out if you were a part of an ancient priesthood. Are you an ancient priest? Are you pristine? These priests opened deep bodies of mind and soul for the purpose of once again returning back to that sanctum where they truly resided within spirit, soul, and mind. This is why they did so much inner deep work of the mind, soul, and spirit. They were opening deep bodies of mind and deep bodies of soul to have that opening open within one, a pharaoh or an akinme or a nunehi, so that that dimension becomes open so that they themselves can jump or slip back into that groove or that slither when they leave their body. So we were opening these doorways, these conjurers' eyes within another, first opening it within ourselves, then teaching or reminding others that they can open these doorways within their self to keep these doorways open. So that when I decide to leave my body, that doorway is wide open for me to slip back into and slither back into, to begin to project myself once again in somebody else's mind back on the surface front line, as once again a physical embodiment of some sort in another universe, another point of existence, holding another present experience. This is what the ancient priesthood did. Why they did what they did, the inner work they did, the depths that they've reached, the purpose of reaching these depths within self first, then reaching it within another, or reminding or teaching one to reach it within their self. They specifically did that to maintain the infusion and connectedness of dimensions and realms, to give the initiated one a transversal experience whenever, if ever, desired to do so. So the ancient priesthood also opened dimensions within self and within another to maintain the connection between a dimension and a realm, which is why I tell you, when these paradigms begin to show you their self, you begin to follow these paradigms into the next realm. Because when you follow these paradigms, this leads you into a realm from a dimension which you have now exited from. This is why these priesthoods created these dimensions, or created these vibrational frequencies, to create a tie-in and infusion between dimension and realm, and also realm and plane of existence. These connections from dimension to realm to plane is a stream called a paradigm. These ancient priesthoods created that stream because they were connected, so they created interconnectedness from dimension to realm to plane through something, a medium called a paradigm, so that they can choose to carnate or incarnate yet again in another physical experience, if drawn or educated from one initiate, or one who was initiated by an initiate, by a priest, by a humnecheretapi, by an akinme, by a nunehi, to once again project that ancient priest back out, slipping through another womb, incarnated for that present purpose, to once again shift a people and a mind in a spiritual movement, to wake them up, to shake shit up when things get too physical. This is why dynasties fell, ancient dynasties fell, ancient empires fell, and they will always fall. No matter how much great of a people or person or civilization or tribe of people that we are, is going to always fall. At some time, at some point, at some period within this zeitgeist understanding, this zeitgeist movement, it's a Kali Yuga. It will meet its zenith ending point or period, an era at some time. Not because we're a lesser people or we are just fuck ups, but because we're in a physical carnated experience. The body dies, empires die. The body dies, dynasties die. It doesn't matter how great or how grand something was or something is. Enjoy it while it lasts. Take from it what you will, what you feel is needed for your spiritual growth, your spiritual development, your solar enhancement. If you are of this chord, if you're of this vibration, if you are of this frequency which is being shared in this moment, if you are of the ancient priesthood as I am, incarnated as somebody again called the Mayas Asium, which I decided to name myself, or this spirit called the Mayas Asium introduced me to him, and I became him, and it became me. This name, Amayas Asium, is a vibration or an emanation, because name is emin backwards, which is emanation. So I'm not a name called the Mayas Asium. I am an ancient priest emanation entitled Amayas Asium that once again returned to carry out another divine mission. So the very reason the ancient priesthood was opening deep Abyssian portals within the mind's understanding was to open up that vibration, that present vibration, massive enough to once again slip back into those hidden grooves of primal obscurity after they choose to dematerialize their bodies. Like I tell you, like I tell anybody else, like I tell people, I've been saying this for the longest. Some people die, others leave. So everybody doesn't die. everybody's body doesn't just die. Some individuals leave. The ancient priesthood left when they decided to dematerialize their body. Until they once again decide to rematerialize or materialize or assemble or reassemble their atomic body once again to carnate back into the flesh, to once again carry out another divine order. So they were literally creating vibrational mental pods. Literally creating vibrational mental pods to return back to the great sleep, which you call the human life or the human body or the human experience. They call this the great sleep. Having an experience within the valley of dry bones. Once you understand, you begin to create. For those of you who would like to continue to show support, donation, stuff like that to the Cash App, information will be in the bottom. Consultations. You want to sign up and enroll for classes and courses. Also have payment methods and processes of 4 for those who can, or processes of 2 payments. The spring classes are coming up. They're going to be so powerful, it's ridiculous. The student classes are growing and growing and growing. And we're just getting more deeper and deeper and deeper. And there's so many supernatural occurrences that are happening all the time amongst my students. They email me all the damn time. And there's just so many things happening. I want you all to be a part of it. And if you are a part of it, all the better. Stay with it. And my yes, as I am, most importantly, as you are, I appreciate y'all for attending today's live. I'm going to be holding a lot more of these. And I'll see y'all in the next video. As you are.